Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in and any media that may be paying attention and may have questions. We appreciate everybody's cooperation as we continue to follow public health directives. We're adhering to the 5-person gathering for this press conference as well. And we are going to be taking media questions live and I think over the phone, and so hopefully there'll be no glitches, but we appreciate your patience. Given the provincial state of emergency announced on Sunday, it's important for us to provide citizens with an update on how this impacts municipal services and operations. Our CAO, Jacques Dubé, will provide an operational update shortly, as will our EMO Coordinator, Assistant Chief Erica Flack. I want to begin by extending my ongoing gratitude to Erica and to Jacques, to my senior management team at the city, our senior management team at the city, our council colleagues who are working hard from home, and everybody who is tirelessly helping us manage through these unprecedented times. Importantly, a provincial state of emergency does not impact public safety service levels or core public service. Services deemed essential under the provincial order continue to operate. I urge all citizens to continue to listen to the advice of provincial public health officials and practice social distancing and other etiquettes and protocols around public health. This cannot be stressed too much. I want to just address the issue of when we will have another council meeting. The state of emergency gives us the power to have a council meeting remotely using technology, either by conference call or video. Our staff are working diligently now to come up with solutions and then to work with our councillors and support staff to enable that council meeting happening, which we hope will happen next week. The order stipulates that we must publish minutes of any meetings within 24 hours. The meetings must be recorded. However we do the meeting, we are going to try to be as open and transparent as we can possibly be. Public transit is a critical service for essential workers during an emergency. This includes healthcare professionals traveling to work at hospitals or nursing homes and many others. Without it, they can't get where they need to go, and we're doing whatever we can following public health guidelines, and the CAO will speak to that. We know there has been some confusion related to the closure of municipal parks and trails. Consistent with the decision of the province of Nova Scotia to close all provincial parks, all municipal parks, beaches, playgrounds, sports fields, and courts remain closed until further notice. This decision was made in an effort to protect public health and ensure proper social distancing. Now, some municipal trails remain open, and I'll let Jacques speak to that as well. I do want to acknowledge that things are moving quickly because they have to move quickly. It is inevitable that things happen, and sometimes the details need to be worked out and clarified, and we're working closely with the province to do that. We've received a number of calls from people concerned about the well-being of some of our more vulnerable residents, those who are homeless or housing insecure. Our staff have been working closely, again, with the province to ensure that those vulnerable residents are housed appropriately and that the facilities required to isolate individuals as required are open and operational. I want to give credit to our amazing library service, who continue to offer great resources and come up with creative ways to serve our community at this time. Residents are now able to sign up for a digital library card to immediately access online resources. Now, hundreds of residents have signed up. Online offerings have expanded to include things like over 200 digital magazines, an online learning platform, lynda.com, offering workshops on everything from photography and photo shoot to resume writing, language tutorials, music and film streaming from Hoopla and Canopy, and an incredible collection of digital children's materials. In addition, library staff are creating online content like virtual storytelling that is making staying home easier for kids and parents alike. Recognizing that many do not have digital access at home, Public Wi-Fi has been left on at all library buildings so people passing by any branch can connect to Wi-Fi, download items, connect with their families, or search the internet. Libraries are even making individual and community house calls, dropping off gaming systems, movies, and board games to youth homes, for example, or dropping off audiobooks to seniors in self-isolation. There are tough times for many people, but many people are stepping up to help in big ways. I told you last week about the Atlantic Compassion Fund, which continues to grow. Just yesterday, Emera and Nova Scotia Power announced a combined $1 million donation to help address the immediate and emerging challenges of Atlantic Canada in the wake of COVID-19. We're incredibly grateful to businesses like Emera and Nova Scotia Power and others, the leadership of Atlantic Business Interiors, for their generosity that will support so many. And I also want to thank Sarah Napier and her team at United Way and other United Ways. While the fund continues to grow, so too does the need. I encourage anybody who is able to visit unitedwayhalifax.ca to make a contribution to this important fund, or to organizations like Feed Nova Scotia and Shelter Nova Scotia. I also want to acknowledge the strong work being done by Patrick Sullivan and his team at the Halifax Chamber of Commerce, to Ross Jefferson at Discover Halifax, Wendy Luther at the Halifax Partnership, and others who are working now to make this an easier time, but also to prepare for when we eventually are able to rebuild. I want to offer as well heartfelt thanks to the people out there in our community who continue to provide essential services that keep us going. People like grocery store workers, truck drivers, animal care workers at places like the SPCA and others who are ensuring that our furry friends remain cared for. Farmers, sanitation workers, frontline healthcare workers, from those working in nursing homes to hospitals, public health, everybody, including Dr. Strang and his team, and those who we might not think of right away, for example, those in the financial sector who are providing much needed advice and help during a time of financial uncertainty for many people. And of course, our municipal workers, who we thank every single day. These are the people who are standing up in our time of great need. We need to ensure that we're supporting the people who are supporting us. So please continue to follow the advice of public health. Stay home unless it's absolutely necessary to go out. Maintain the physical distance and wash your hands frequently. COVID-19 is bigger than any one person, and we're all in this together. On that point, I want to acknowledge our work again with the province of Nova Scotia, with the Premier and his team, with Dr. Strang, and everybody who was working on this issue. We all are working with one focus and one goal, and that is to protect and preserve the health of Nova Scotians. So thank you very much. Please continue to follow official social media updates for the most accurate information. I will now turn things over to our CAO, Jacques Dubé, who will give an operational update. Thank you. Merci. Voilà.
Thank you very much, Mayor Savage. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Maire. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Let me start by, again, thanking our staff and residents for taking important steps in reducing the spread of COVID-19. The Halifax Regional Municipality supports the province's decision to declare a state of emergency, and we thank them for making that important step. Municipal staff will continue to work with the province to align with recommendations of health officials and orders issued under the Emergency Measures Act. Municipal staff are currently determining service level adjustments related to a provincial state of emergency, including Halifax Transit, and will issue announcements as decisions are confirmed. Services deemed essential under the provincial order will continue to operate. A provincial state of emergency does not impact public safety services or service levels in our public safety realm, or the need to maintain a level of core public services. All standard essential services of the municipality, including 311, fire, and police, are operational and adhering to the most updated guidance and precautions from health officials. On behalf of our emergency responders, we ask residents do not call 911 for non-emergency purposes. Please. Instead, please call 311 and the police non-emergency lines. We also ask you to please strictly follow provincial instructions regarding social distancing. This recommendation is for your own safety and that of your loved ones. We remind residents that under provincial authority, individuals who are found in breach of an order will be subject to fines issued by provincial and local police enforcement. Let's try to avoid that step and cooperate by working together to get through this challenging time. Yesterday, to align with the province's decision to close all provincial parks, all municipal parks, beaches, playgrounds, and sports fields and courts, as well as many trails, have been closed until further notice. I'd like to clarify some questions regarding trails. Residential pathways that connect streets can be used. Multi-use paths along streets that replace sidewalks can also be used. Residents can walk, cycle to a trail in their neighborhood only, provided that trail is not connected to a park or in a park. Residents are not permitted to drive to trails outside of their neighborhood. Residents are not to gather and must continue to follow social distancing guidelines in accordance with the provincial orders. Today, I'd like to share a new update from Parks and Recreation regarding programming. All municipal spring recreation programming is canceled. Summer recreation program registration, scheduled for April 1, is canceled. The status of summer recreation programming will be determined at a later date. We will also begin removing ice surfaces in the coming days at many of our municipal arenas for maintenance purposes. Should this affect a previous booking, staff will be contacting residents about refunds. We will continue to update service adjustments as soon as new information becomes available. For the most up-to-date municipal service adjustments, please visit halifax.ca/coronavirus. Thank you again for helping with the community effort to reduce the risk of spreading COVID-19. I will now summarize in French. Encore bonjour tout le monde. Permettez-moi de commencer en remerciant nos résidents et le personnel d'avoir pris des mesures importantes pour réduire la propagation de COVID-19. La municipalité appuie la décision de la province de déclarer l'état d'urgence. Les services jugés essentiels en vertu de l'ordonnance provinciale continueront de fonctionner. Par exemple, nos services de sécurité publique ne sont pas affectés et respectent les directives et les précautions les plus récentes du Dr. Strang. Au nom de nos intervenants d'urgence, nous vous demandons aux résidents de ne pas appeler le 911 à des fins non urgentes. Utilisez le 311, s'il vous plaît, en ce qui a trait à des situations non urgentes. Nous vous demandons de bien vouloir suivre strictement les instructions provinciales concernant les distances sociales. Les personnes jugées non conformes, je dois dire, seront passibles d'amendes infligées par la police. Pour les ajustements les plus récents des services municipaux, visitez halifax.ca coronavirus. Merci encore d'avoir contribué à l'effort communautaire visant à réduire le risque de propagation de COVID-19. Nous allons maintenant répondre aux questions des médias. We will now take questions from the media. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Just before we take questions, I'll ask Erica Fleck if she has anything that she wishes to add. Erica Fleck, Assistant Chief and Head of our EMO.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just a few frequently asked questions that we're getting a lot of emails in, phone calls, et cetera, into the Emergency Management Office. So it is important, very important for residents to understand that stores that are essential will not be closed under any state of emergency, such as grocery stores, drugstores, gas stations, and many others that we use on an everyday basis. Please refer to the links on our halifax.ca website or for the latest information, or you can refer to the Province of Nova Scotia's website as well. And regarding masks, you should only wear a mask if a healthcare professional recommends it. A face mask should only be used by people who have COVID-19 and are showing symptoms. This is to protect others from the risk of getting infected. The use of face masks is also crucial for our health workers and people who are taking care of someone with COVID-19. in close settings such as at home or a nursing healthcare facility. Another reminder again to check on your neighbors with a phone call, a text message, or knock on the door and talk through the door to help those who may be without, but also ensuring that social distancing is always kept, and please stay safe and be kind to others. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Chief. We'll see if there's any questions from media.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Brenton Murphy, the Managing Director of Corporate Communications. We have a number of media on the line, and I'll be calling upon them to pose a question. They'll each have the opportunity for one follow-up question. Just a reminder to those who are on the line, as it is a conference call line, to please ensure you're on mute unless you're being called upon to pose a question. The first question is coming from Pam Berman with CBC. Over to you, Pam, to pose your question.
Hi, I'm aware that these two municipalities, the District of Bloomberg and Richmond County, are deferring the property tax, and also that there's discussions with the province to perhaps do that across the province. Is there anything that you can say at this point about the deferral of property taxes?
Thank you very much, Pam. What I can tell you is that that is something that Council will be engaged with as soon as we meet. I think every councillor has it on their agenda to understand what the options are. And I want to thank Jane Fraser, who is the CFO of the municipality, who has been working very hard at making sure that we know all of the options. We certainly want to help. Clearly, so much of the revenue of the municipality, I think something in the range of 85%, Jacques, comes from property tax. And most of the other sources of revenue, things like transit and parking enforcement and recreation fees, we've already waived. So we have made some effort to help folks, as well as, of course, paying our staff, our full-time staff, as well as many casuals and terms as possible. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, but we will definitely be having that discussion, and we recognize that there's a role for the municipality. We want to help.
So thanks very much, Pam. Was there a follow-up question? And I'll ask, because we're working through the technology of this, for now, to ensure that everyone can hear the questions, we would ask that those receiving questions summarize what the inquiry is, please.
No, my other question was about council meetings, and that looks like it's coming next week, so.
Okay.
Okay, so Pam's second question was about council meetings. We addressed that in the comments. Thank you, Pam.
Thanks, Pam. I'm now going to take a question from Zane Woodford with Saltwater Network. Zane, your question?
I'm looking for some clarification around transit. There's been some noise online. One councillor calling the shutdown of transit imminent. Has there been a discussion around shutting down transit? And if not, why not?
So I think I heard the question was about transit and whether there's been a discussion around shutting down transit completely. Is that correct, Zane?
Yes.
Yeah. So every single day we have a discussion about transit and what the options are for us, and basing our decision on two things. Number one, the health and safety of our operators, and that is why the decisions that we've taken about making sure that people enter through the rear door of the bus, foregoing the collection of fares, the wiping down of the buses, the separation between the drivers and the passengers. That's the number one issue. And the other issue that's really important is that we have a lot of people who need to get to work, healthcare workers, people who work in nursing homes, senior homes, who also work at grocery stores and other services. So every day we look at what the options are going to be on that. And we're no different than every other city in Canada and around the world. And there aren't very many cities. I don't think there's any sort of major cities in Canada that have shut down transit, but they have the same concerns that we do, which is the health of their operators, as also making sure that, if we shut down transit, number one, we basically close access to many, many citizens, and also to healthcare facilities and small businesses that are trying to continue. But that is a discussion that we have every day, and Dave Regie, the Director of Metro Transit, is updates us every single morning, and we have the conversation with CAO and other senior leaders.
Thanks very much. Zane, was there a follow-up question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's been any more movement on plans to hold a council meeting and whether the public would be able to watch it live or just be able to watch it later.
So the question from Zane was about the council meetings and whether people would be able to watch it live, I think is what I heard.
Okay.
We're going to do everything we can, but we don't know if the technology is going to exist for people to watch it live. Right now, people can come to council and watch. They can't take part in a council meeting other than the public hearing. So as long as we can get people to see what's happening at council in an open and transparent way, we'll do the best that we can. It may be that it will be, will certainly more than meet the provincial stipulation. We will record the council meetings. If there's a way that we can have people watch at the same time, we'd like that. We just don't know if that ideal technology exists yet. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Zane, for those questions. And just a reminder for those who are asking questions, if you can, as best you can, temper your pace of questions so that we can hear it clearly. I know it can depend on the quality of the phone call being made as to whether it's being picked up is here in our studio. So thank you for your patience. I'm moving now on to a question from Samantha Long with All Nova Scotia. Samantha, your question?
Hi, my question is about property tax relief. I understand that the Federation, Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities is working on a proposal for some rules across the province. I was wondering if the city has had any discussions with the Department of Municipal Affairs on how the province
So the question was on the property taxes and whether we would do something altogether with the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipality and the province. And I think also the last bit, Samantha, was about whether the province could help. Yeah. So I'll let Jacques speak to that. I'll just say a couple of words. We are in contact. Jane Fraser in particular has been in discussion with people at the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities Federation. Way Mason is the past president of the Federation of Municipalities and has been very involved in, I think, a lot of those discussions as well. I had a conversation with the Premier this morning on a number of issues, supporting the work that he and his team are doing, but also to signal that at some point in time, we may need some help with municipal finances, liquidity, and the ability to make sure that we can maintain all the services that we need, keeping in mind that we're already making a number of things free, and depending on how far we can go on the deferral of property tax. Jacques, did you have anything else you wanted to add on that? Jacques Dubé?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Association of Municipal Administrators of Nova Scotia and the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities are working together right now on coming up with some policy options for government to consider. We've also undertaken some direct contact with the Department of Municipal Affairs on that. As the Mayor said, he's spoken to the Premier. It'd be very helpful if we could have a decision from the province that would be applicable to all municipalities under an order, a temporary order under the Emergency Measures Act to change some of the rules to allow us to do certain things that we're not permitted to do now. So we're working on that, and there's certainly an open ear at the province. They understand that these are challenging times, and they're doing their best to work with us and we with them, and we're hopeful that there'll be some resolution to that issue sooner than later. Thank you.
Thanks very much, CAO Dubé. And if it was there a follow-up question from Samantha? Are we good there?
I just wanted to ask about when council meetings resume. Will it be business as usual, or will there be a few issues that need to be addressed that are COVID related?
I think the question was, when council resumes, will it be business as usual or will it just be COVID-related issues? Was that the question, Samantha?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So we will obviously try to manage the council agenda so that things that aren't urgent will not be prioritized. Keep in mind, we don't know how long this is going to go on. This could go on for some time yet, that we're not going to be able to meet in person. So we will have a meeting, as we always do each week, with what we call our agenda review team to have a look at the items that are in front of us and to make sure that we're dealing with those items that need to be dealt with. So a lot of things, I think the issues related to COVID-19 would certainly be priority issues for us. And so that might be issues of property tax and things like that. But it also means we want to continue to be able to pay our suppliers and the small businesses with whom we do business. And we will try to make sure that we can deal with important agenda items, certainly prioritizing COVID-19, but I don't think that we will put everything else aside. We'll deal with those over the next few weeks and months as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your questions, Samantha. Next, we'll go to Cassandra Nadeau-Lamarche. She's with Radio-Canada. I believe she'll have some questions both in English and French, requesting responses in English and French. Cassandra, over to you for your question.
Yeah, so oui, for Mr. Dubé. Est-ce que c'est possible d'avoir une mise à jour ou une mesure pour s'assurer que les travailleurs de production, on parle des policiers, des pompiers, les chauffeurs d'autobus sont en sécurité, même s'ils doivent travailler? On va devoir en
Si j'ai bien compris la question, est-ce que les employés, les policiers, nos agents d'incendie, et ainsi de suite, prennent des mesures pour se protéger, c'est ça?
C'est quoi les mesures que la ville prend en place pour les protéger pendant ce temps?
Écoute, ils prennent toutes les précautions. Donc, le Dr. Strang suggère, en fait, ils ont accès à des masques, des gants, des nettoyeurs, des nettoyants en tout temps. Alors, ils prennent toutes les mesures, ils nettoient leurs espaces de travail, leurs véhicules, et ainsi de suite. Donc, ils prennent tout ça en considération à tous les jours, puis ils prennent ça au sérieux. I think the question was, what are the things that firefighters and police officers doing to protect themselves when working? Now, clearly, Dr. Strang has advised everyone to take certain precautions, and certainly our first responders are taking those instructions seriously. They have access to certified masks. They have access to gloves. They have access to hand sanitizers, to wipes, those kinds of things. You know, they have to follow the same rules as everybody else in terms of workspaces, vehicles, etc. So all emergency first responders are effectively responding and respecting the directives as being issued by the Chief Medical Officer of Health.
Thank you, Jacques. And Cassandra, is there any other follow-up questions for our CAO?
I just wanted to know if you could talk in French, answer the question regarding property taxes and the possibility of deferring those.
I believe the question is to provide some insights on the status of our taxes, the property taxes.
Okay. Effectivement, les factures de taxes ont été émises. Le conseil, nous, on travaille à l'interne. À l'instant, notre chef des finances, Mme Fraser, et son équipe sont en train de travailler sur des options pour le conseil. On s'attend la semaine prochaine d'avoir notre première rencontre du conseil. Et on va apporter des suggestions sûrement à ce temps-là pour considération du Conseil. Alors, le Conseil va prendre des décisions. Il y a des procédures à suivre. Il y a des notices qui doivent être ou des avis qui doivent être faits par un membre du Conseil pour justement mettre la chose sur la table du Conseil en priori. Et en ce temps-là, on va quand même discuter avec le Conseil des options qu'on regarde vis-à-vis les paiements de taxes foncières dans le futur. So the question was really about what are we going to do about taxes, and is there a possibility of deferring taxes? We are looking at those options now. Jane Fraser and her team are looking at various options. We intend to meet with council next week at a date that's to be determined, and at that point there'll be a notice of motion put to the floor of council, we assume, and that will then trigger a process whereby council can then consider options going forward and make a final decision. We're also having conversations with the province in that respect, and with the Association of Municipal Administrators and the NSFM to see whether there can be some provincial directive around that, or at least authorities around that to provide some relief in terms of deferral of payment.
Thanks very much, Mr. CAO, and also thank you for the questions, Cassandra. We've got about 2 more outlets with questions on our list. Next is Katie Hartai with News 95.7. Katie, your question?
Yes, Mr. Dubé might be best suited to answer my question. Did he mention that an announcement is coming regarding how the municipality will be mitigating crowding on our buses?
I can catch the last part.
I think the question, if I heard it correctly, was will there be any direction in the next couple of days about, in light of the province's orders around the state of emergency and what we're doing about crowding on buses? Is that a fair summary, Katie?
Yes, thank you.
No, we continue to work with the province on what necessary service or essential services or designated services are required. So I know that the province is considering all that. I can't tell you exactly the timeline, but there are active discussions going on even today, this morning, and this afternoon between my team and the province's team around that, and we're expecting a decision from the province on several areas in relation to municipal services and what may or may not be deemed essential. So stay tuned on that.
Okay. And in the meantime, what is suggested for people who want to practice social distancing and have to take transit?
Well, what we're asking folks to do is to take reasonable precautions. You know, we've already put in place on buses that you need to enter from the rear door of the bus. You need to practice social distancing to the extent possible on a bus, no standing, for example. So we would ask people to take reasonable precautions and go from there. Make sure that you're washing your hands regularly, use hand sanitizer, those kinds of things. At this point, we believe it's essential to have buses on the road to make sure that people can get access to healthcare, to access to the workplaces, and we're certainly appreciate the cooperation from our union and their membership in relation to keeping buses on the road. But we await now a decision by the chief medical officer associated with what would maybe be considered an essential component of that.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Katie, for your questions. The final question we have on the docket is from Frank Campbell with the Chronicle Herald. He's let us know that he's having challenges with connectivity on his end, and he's asked me to read the question from him, and this is for Jacques Dubé. With the virtual budget meeting delayed until sometime in April, can normal operational spending continue past March 31st without the budget having passed?
Yes, absolutely. This will not be the first year that we've adopted a budget beyond March 31st. So, we have no concerns at this point. Our financial situation is good. I have sufficient authority as CAO, and our directors have sufficient authority to keep the affairs of the municipality running. As you know, we will be convening council next week, and there are some financial decisions that council will likely have to make, including some tendering, and those types of decisions. So there are no issues around the ongoing operation of the municipality.
Thanks very much. There are no other questions on the docket. I'd like to thank our CAO, Jacques Dubé, our mayor, Mike Savage, and Assistant Chief Erica Fleck, and I'll turn it over to Mayor Savage to say a few final words.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to mention one other thing, which is in terms of the council meeting next week, we are having regular conference calls with councillors where we are only discussing COVID-19, not doing other business at this point, and trying to keep our councillors up to speed, but also to hear from them because they're hearing a lot of things in the community that are very helpful to us. So again, thanks to so many people. I just want to close on this. We're all getting notes from people who are wishing us well at a difficult time, and I received one last night from somebody I didn't know, and the bottom line of it was that she said, Mr. Mayor, it's a difficult time for everybody, but just remember to take time and breathe. And I think that's good advice for all of us, to take the time that we have, consider where we are. We're going to come out of this. It's going to take some time, but breathe, take care of yourself and your family. And I think that's strong advice for all of us. So thanks to everybody who helps to make these, an acknowledgement to other municipalities across the province, Pam Mood, the president of the Nova Scotia Federation, and all municipalities who are dealing with the same circumstances that we are. We're all in this together. Thank you very much.